From Noumena to Tokyo, it's the historical gamer. Actually, I messed that up. It's gaming his way through history. From Noumena to Tokyo, it's the historical gamer. Hello, everybody. It's the historical gamer once again, and today we are returning to our play-by-email Let's Play against XTRG in the illustrious Grand War game known as War in the Pacific, Admirals Edition, a game developed by Grigsby. We are in the process of trying to continue to cling to the island of New Caledonia and our last base on that island at Noumena. We've been attacked there multiple turns. It is bound to fall soon, but it hasn't fallen yet. And that's the situation right now. There's some offensives going on in China. There's some offensives going on in the Dutch East Indies as well. We've spotted some Japanese carriers in the Dutch East India area, some light carriers. But that's kind of the situation right now. We've got some subs near Rabaul. One of them here is being depth charged pretty heavily by a Japanese destroyer here, just off the coast of Rabaul. Oh shit, side penetrated? Eee. Alright, so failed to find the sub. How much damage did it? 9 hits? No bubbling noise, so I'm assuming she survived at the very least. That was a rough depth charging right there. Okay. Porpoise just fired a torpedo at a destroyer minesweeper just off the coast of New Caledonia, so maybe we actually did something good with a submarine of ours, a Mark 14, and it looks like the ship was carrying Japanese troops here, because it says there's 12 casualties. So maybe it was on its way to Norfolk Island? We had some destroyers awaiting it anyway, but it's great that a sub put a torpedo into it. And we get the little bubbling noise, so we know that we sank it. So a DMS goes down. The turn before this, we also sank a Japanese destroyer as well, so doing some damage to light Japanese transport forces at sea, killing Japanese soldiers at sea, always a good thing for the Allied forces. Yeah, Mark 14 that works against a small and fast target. That was a miracle. Whoever made that that torpedo deserves a raise. Torpedoes being fired at a patrol boat near Wake Island. They miss. Japanese try and find the sub. They fail. And we're into the air operation phase here in the AM. What was that, an E-13A1 Jake near Palmyra? Where would that have... I guess it could have been from a submarine, right? I think. We got more Japanese convoys here near Celebes. They just landed, I think it was a division off of Kendari, which is pretty bad news. A large-scale Japanese raid here against Bataan, the first one that we've seen thus far. Not that big. A reasonable amount of bombers. Good coordination there. He's got 4 different plane types, and they all came in at the same time. 41 Nates escorting the bombers. Not very good fighters, but there's a lot of them, and we don't really have anything to stand in their way. And then 26 Nels, which are the heaviest in the group, 13 Lilies, so that's about 39 strategic bombers, and then about 16 dive bombers here. We did a little bit of flak damage to the Lilies, 2 damaged, a little bit of supply hit, a little bit of runway and airbase hit. Fortunately, there's just not a lot of airbase targets other than supply. Another 47 bombers coming in here, 30 Nels and 17 Ki-30 Ans. He's really making a serious effort at Bataan this turn, but no supply hits there. Another 12 Nels and 7 Lilies. Maybe my coordination comment was a little bit off base. Doesn't look like he's actually bombing the troops, though, which is interesting, I suppose. Okay. Float plane spotted near Noumena. Our bombers going in on Japanese troops near Wuchou. Our bombers are going in against a Japanese force here near Pegu. 16 Blenheim 1 bombers, 4 Blenheim fighter escorts, 10 Buffaloes. 21 Japanese casualties inflicted. I didn't see what the unit was. I'd have to go into the ops to see what we were actually bombing there. Oh, it's the 2nd RTA Division, according to Recon. So that means it's a Royal Thailand Division, which means it's a reasonably strength unit, but it's not something that we have to be terrified of. I think they usually have around 160 combat value, so that's definitely something we might be able to attack if it's the only unit in the hex. Our intelligence so far has indicated it is the only unit in the hex, but it might be something worth kind of jumping out front, overwhelming, and getting some victory points by doing some damage there. Okay. Airstrikes, Savi mission canceled over the target. Bad weather, I guess. PM phase, we'll see if they go for Bataan again. There wasn't a lot of air activity in China. Fair amount of recon, but not a lot of actual activity. I'm really curious to see if Noumena falls. Based on his save comment about just another day at Noumena, I'm guessing something happens there. He's been attacking there like nonstop for 4 or 5 days. Our units are basically destroyed. Somehow we held on last turn. I fully anticipate the next attack they will fall. Just a matter if he gives his troops a day or two to recover or not, in terms of when Noumena might fall. But every day he delays is a day closer to the massive Allied reinforcements. More troops landing at Manadao. So you can see here some patrol boats providing some gunfire support. He lost 8 troops to disruption. Troops unloading over the beach. No casualties in that. I mean, that base is going to fall. We've got next to nothing there. Okay. Land combat in China. Japanese bombardment attack at Changsha. He's continuing to pound our troops that are there. 40 Allied casualties, 1 squad destroyed. Deliberate attack at Noumena. I'm assuming it will fall here. It doesn't? Wow! Japanese assault odds 1-2. That's interesting. For the first time in a long time, they did not get the advantage of assault odds. 91 adjusted. Somehow we had 91 adjusted defense. I don't think he attacked with his full force because there's only 53 assault value there. And he got a bloody nose there, folks. He lost 12 vehicles, 1 destroyed. He lost 1 gun destroyed, 2 squads destroyed, and a fair amount disabled. 244 more casualties. Yes, we lost 7 more squads destroyed, but the thing that we need to remember is this force at Noumena is lost. There is nothing we can do about it. Every single unit there is going to be destroyed. The fact that he apparently went in piecemeal and didn't attack with his full force, or he's just so badly battered that he couldn't attack with more strength. I don't know. Actually, maybe that's the adjusted. So the strength is 243 versus 19. Somehow it got adjusted down to 53. That's got to be fatigue or something. But in any event, 2 more squads destroyed, so that's 2 more victory points, a gun and a vehicle destroyed. You know, these are not catastrophic casualties for him, but every unit he loses destroyed is 1 more unit that, you know, he didn't need to lose because our troops are goners. They are going to get defeated. All it would take is 1 well-coordinated and managed strike. Even if you wait 1 or 2 days, if you lose no casualties, that might be worth it for him. And instead, all of these units that he has here that are attacking are just going to keep suffering more and more fatigue and, more importantly, more and more disruption, which does take some time to go away. And so if he tries to use them immediately in a follow-on attack, that's going to be asking for some serious problems. So yeah, by all means, wear your troops out. That's one of the reasons I stopped attacking at Mersing, is because my Singapore force, and it's still hasn't recovered. I should have around 14 to 1,500 assault value, but I lost about 400 of that in my attacks at Mersing because they just got disrupted, and it takes time and it takes supply to get that disruption back, and you know, he didn't do it. Meanwhile, bombardment attack at Wenkao again. No casualties on either side. Bombardment attack at Kendari. I don't know why my troops are being stupid and bombarding a full Japanese division. That's just dumb. Japanese deliberate attack at Kendari, and they take the base. So the troops we have there are able to retreat toward Kolaka. They aren't surrounded, but they are going to be pretty battered there. You can see 500 casualties, 22 squads destroyed, 8 disabled, 31 non-combatants destroyed, 11 engineers, 16 guns, 8 vehicles. He didn't lose anything destroyed, a little bit of disruption, 117 casualties. So that is a victory for him. That base is in good shape from an airbase perspective. He'll obviously need to bring in some engineers in order to make sure that he's got airbase support so that he can base bombers out of there, but that might effectively shut down the sort of central and southern DEI from our merchant shipping and pulling fuel out of places like Balikpapan. I don't think it'll hinder us from pulling fuel out of Oosthaven. I think that's too far away. I think he still needs to make a play towards Singapore and load bombers up there, or make a play toward Palembang or somewhere on the island of Sumatra for that really to be a problem. But I guess we'll see. I certainly don't want to get a bunch of tankers sunk by Nels and Bettys, but he doesn't have any engineers there yet either, so it's going to be a couple of days at the very least before anything changes. I'm gonna consider bombing that base from from the few bombers that we have in the Dutch East Indies to try and maybe reduce the effectiveness of the airfield. Maybe during the attack it suffered some damage as well, which could limit his ability to use that as an airbase. I'm not sure, but, we'll see. Okay. So, the indomitable defenders of New Caledonia hang in there for another turn. If we take a look at the intelligence report, no air-to-air losses. There were no air-to-air engagements. It was a very quiet turn from an air combat perspective. Nothing destroyed on the field. 2 Japanese planes lost by flak, 4 by operational damage. We lost 1 and 1 of each of those categories. Of his planes that he lost 2 Bettys, 2 Babs, actually, this is saying 6-2. Our planes were a Catalina lost to flak and a B-33D lost to ops. Okay. How's our fighter group at Singapore doing? So we had that big fighter battle at Singapore 2 days ago. We lost about 40 operational aircraft, about 25 shot down, about 20-something, maybe 30-something shot down, and then we had like another 10 to 20 that were disabled. We still have quite a few aircraft that are disabled as of this turn, January 27th. We only have 48 ready aircraft. It looks like we brought about 7 more into commission. The Air Cobra Squadron, the 24th Pursuit Group, is up to 9 out of 25 aircraft. If we take a look at the planes here, it looks like we're going to get 4 more tomorrow. So that could bring us up to 13 operational aircraft. The Hurricane Trop 2Bs, they're at 8 out of 16, so they haven't actually pulled any reinforcements, but they do have a max load of aircraft out of what's there. We've got 7 Warhawks, 7 Hurricanes in this group with 5 disabled. Some of those, 3 more of those are going to come online tomorrow when their maintenance completes. This Buffalo group suffered pretty badly. It's only got 6 aircraft left. It's got 1 damaged, repairing 4 days, so nothing's going to change there. The H-81A3s, the Flying Tigers, 3 of them are damaged. They're going to be out 1, 4, and 6 days respectively, so we'll get 1 more back there tomorrow. Of these P-40Es, there's 2 that are disabled. We'll get 1 of those back. And then of the Buffalo Squadron here that has 3 disabled, we'll get 1 of those back. So I think we're going to get around maybe 10 more aircraft next turn, so we'll be up to 58 ready aircraft out of a potential 79 fighters. I think because of that, we'll leave these guys stood down and let him. I'm assuming he's going to sweep. He didn't sweep over Singapore this turn, but I'm going to assume he's going to sweep next turn. We haven't seen any indication that he has any bombers nearby that might be ready to pounce. I think he's mainly just assuming that he's going to deal with us by sweeping us. Meanwhile, our troops in Singapore itself continue to hang on their positions. We were talking about assault value that were lost in some units. One of the good examples, the 22nd Australian Brigade. You can see these guys have 36 squads still disabled, and they haven't done anything for like a week or 2. So that's just a good example there. 45,000 supply is plenty at Singapore right now. I doubt we'll deplete that supply. They'll probably overrun us before then. Level 4 fortifications are up to 80%, so probably 4 or 5 more days till those are done, but the Japanese are not yet in Singapore. Meanwhile, it looks like there's no advance on Bataan quite yet. The airfield is actually still at 100%. We're down to 47,000 supply, so that is starting to decrease. We were at a peak of about 52,000 maybe about a week ago, and it's been fluctuating from about 48 to 50,000 since then, but that last bombing raid or maybe just regular usage of supplies has started to cause this to drop a bit. Nonetheless, it's still quite a bit of supply. That's certainly at least a month worth of supply and a very good strength of troops that are on the ground there. A fair bit of disruption in some of these units, but I don't think it's new. It's not like as a result of air raids. It's more a result of just the campaign prior to this. I've been debating moving to Clark Field, but this is saying you still got 50,000 troops with 360 guns and 230 AFVs, or armored fighting vehicles. If you compare that to what we do have about 3 times as many guns, but the efficiency of them won't be anywhere near as good. We do have about 500 more vehicles but again, we'd be attacking tough terrain, and I just don't think we have a high degree of likelihood of winning there. Unless we see him pull his force down to around 30,000 troops, then maybe we could make a play, but if he has 50,000 troops there still, we don't even have 2-to-1 odds, and the Japanese troops are just much better than us, so that's just the reality of the situation. Meanwhile, we are unloading some additional fuel or supply at Bataan. Another 280 or 35 supply will probably be unloaded in the night at Bataan. Once that is completed, then we will, have the patrol craft there return to its base, which I think will set it back toward Tarkin, which is a little bit further out, but we'll have it set to return to Tarkin once it is done unloading that supply to try and help prevent it getting stuck under the guns of Japanese aircraft. Meanwhile, we've got 1,700 additional supply here on this cargo or vessel. I think we're going to send it to Balikpapan just because it's the closest base that we can actually fill it up and have good port facilities to load the supplies up quickly. None of these other bases have enough supply to actually put on board the vessel, so we're going to go to Balikpapan, which means there's a good degree of likelihood that we'll get sunk by the Japanese carriers that are operating in the region. They're moving northwest, presumably really northeast. I don't know where they're going to go up here. So maybe by the time we swing back down this way, they'll be in another direction. Our task force is not detected at this stage. So it kind of depends what he's going to do with his task force. Meanwhile, we've got a line of patrolling subs between Ternate and Manadao. So if he does move back this way, we should be able to intercept him. I think we can also go ahead and set a patrol zone. I can't do that yet, so we're going to go ahead and clear this. How do I... We're going to go ahead and set... don't want to do that. Set a patrol zone here, and then we're gonna hopefully intercept any Japanese shipping that might be moving between this area. We'll go ahead and set these guys to react 1 so they can try and intercept anyone who might go there. And we've got another ship, another sub already patrolling in this region as well. So if he does try and go east through the Seram Sea to escape our other submarine line here, then he'll run into that. These guys are moving east. There are not 3 battle cruisers there. The Japanese don't have 3 battle cruisers, but they might be moving toward Ternate, certainly possible. And then you can see here that Kandari was taken. We don't know what the actual enemy strength is from a... Sorry, we don't know what the enemy captured, right? Like, we don't know how strong the base itself is. We're going to order all these guys to fall back on Kolaka. There's not really much in the way of supply. There's not really any prospect of getting them out, but we will have them fall back in that direction toward the next base. We've got a fair number of fighters here at Mascar. Most of them are stood down. I've got a few bombers here. So we're going to order these Hudsons to airfield attack here at... Oh, they can't reach, can they? Oh, they can reach. Okay. And then we're going to do it from 5,000 feet. I'm assuming he has next to no ACAC. Airfield attack. Kandari. Damn it. It's 1 hex too far. Oh, we've got another 14 bombers that we want to hit from there. Can they hit from Sorbet? Or is that too far too? That looks like it's even further. Shit. Well, the Hudsons will go there. The problem is seven Hudsons carrying a handful of bombs isn't going to actually do anything. What about a Kopang? They can probably get there from there. Yeah. No, it's 10 again. God damn it. That was a deceptive little hex there. I guess we could go from Ambion. What's our aviation support there look like? Not great. We do have some Hudsons here as well. So we can do airfield attack from here. We'll go ahead and drop down our search aircraft down to 20%, 10,000 feet, 10 was extended range, so the planes are going to be carrying their reduced payload, which is, what, like 2 bombs? Oh, joy, they're going to be carrying 2 250-pound bombs. They're not going to shut that airfield down, but they might harass it. And, well, yeah, these guys are going to be too far, too, aren't they? So we'll just have to leave them on naval search. So we've got like 12 bombers that are going to hit Kendari. That is going to be more of a gesture than anything. I could move some planes to Ternate. We don't really have any aviation support there. I could move them to Mascar, which has level 3 airfields, but we don't have enough aviation support there for the fighters that we have there. I suppose we could pull some of these guys back. Since we're moving our carriers back to Surabaya, there's no reason to have so many fighters forward deployed. So we can go ahead and pull some of these guys back. I don't have anything for them to defend there. Airfield attack for this guy. Select base Kendari. 5,000 feet. Really going to try and shut this airfield down. I know there's no real way we're going to do it, but I'll have to move other fighters into Mascar in the next turn. He might bring his carrier back and just try and shut Mascar down, but if he does, I think that's actually a good thing for us. I would rather he do that. Meanwhile, our carriers are in the process of running away toward Batavia. We're going to send these guys back to normal speed to preserve some fuel. It doesn't look like they're chasing in any way, so it looks like the carriers should be safe to get back to Batavia here unscathed. Same for the surface task force here that's moving at full speed. We'll go ahead and switch these over to mission speed. I don't even know if we have enough fuel in Batavia here to replenish our stores, but hey, every drop of fuel we use in Java is one less drop of fuel that XTRG will get his hands on when Java eventually falls. Bunch of tankers moving around, some subs. These guys, I don't even know where they're going. These guys are going unload at Pamiskin. Is that here? It looks like he put some mines into this base. These guys are going to Perth with some fuel. We've got other ships moving around. So that's kind of the situation in the Dutch East Indies. Not much else I can do on any of these bases. I just don't have the manpower to strike back out at them. Could try and launch a counterattack here at Manadao. I guess that's an option, but I'd rather not. I'd rather stay on the defensive and preserve my force. I'm assuming he's got more than just 140 men. We saw him unload there twice. All right, so these cruisers made it to Darwin. We'll disband them there. These tankers made it to Darwin. We're going to go ahead and send these guys to Oosthaven, but they're going to take a long route, so we'll try and get more fuel out of Oosthaven. We're going to go ahead and use some fancy waypointing to keep them clear of Japanese carrier threats, and hopefully also submarine threats too. So we'll keep them wide of Christmas Island. So swing out this way, go wide, swing wide of Christmas Island, then veer in toward Oosthaven once you're there. We will stay at mission speed. We'll have 1 destroyer as an escort, and we have 2 tankers there with about 18,000 points, if you will, of fuel that they can load up. Japanese Kiributai is nowhere to be seen. I'm assuming he's pulled it out. At least it's not in the Port Moresby area. Where's this guy going? This rifle company. Oh, they're falling back to Port Moresby. Okay. Rabaul is definitely now his. Got no supply there. He's got 5 units there. Try and order these. Where are these guys going? Oh, they're already falling back, but they're probably going to get attrited before they get there. Meanwhile, the defenders of Noumena are heroes. They only have 8 assault value left. The 4th Australian Brigade is going to be the thing of legend. 2 infantry squads still hanging on. We're going to make a movie about these guys as they hang on at the southern tip of Noumena. The more he attacks, the more fuel or more supplies he burns, the more resources get destroyed in the attacks. So there's that. Meanwhile, we've got our destroyers here at Norfolk, and we've got destroyers at Lord Howe as well. We did just sink a Japanese DMS in the Noumena region, which I can only assume would have been moving south toward Norfolk. We have some cruisers that are sailing into the general vicinity, and I think we sent these destroyers back to get resupplied. They're going to take a few days to get there, and they're going to be just demolished from a readiness perspective. 2 heavy cruisers will be done in about 5 and 1 day in terms of repair, and that's the situation there in New Zealand. Meanwhile, in Australia, I think we've got some tankers that are unloading fuel. We do. We also have some other tankers which finished unloading fuel and are now on their way back to Tahiti before eventually returning to the west coast. So we did unload some fuel at Melbourne to continue powering the economy. I think it was like 50 to 60,000 fuel all told between the two convoys to help Australia's economy continue to churn. And then we've also got some convoys unloading fuel at Perth, also to keep the economy going. We got a new light cruiser at Surabaya. We saw that. I don't think there's... I guess the only thing really worth doing here is moving that light cruiser, and I'll take a look at the chat in a sec, guys. I know I haven't been really looking at it. The Sumatra is at 20% system damage. So let's actually do nothing with that, and let's just let it repair, because I think it just upgraded. Or if it didn't upgrade, then it... Stood Down actually has a better repair timer. So critical can be done in 5 days. So we'll do that. I don't want this guy stuck in port, the Java class here, if the Japanese come calling. I don't think there's any way he'll shut Sumatra down in less than 5 days. Okay. Do we really have 2 mine layers here? That must be port mine layers or mine sweepers, because they don't have a mine cargo and they're too small to really move. Okay, so I think that's the situation on Australia and New Zealand. I have troops that are on the way to Norfolk. They're still a little ways away. They're over here, so they're still several days away from arriving. But the good news is we gave him a bloody nose off Noumena and also off Raoul, so maybe he'll be a little bit less aggressive over there with trying to overextend himself. Unloading fuel at Pago still, almost 20,000. Well, we'll have 20,000 when it's done. The port's still expanding. It's at 70%. The port at Fiji is expanding. The fortifications are also being built. Okay. Perrin Island, getting some supplies. What did we put there? A port service unit here? We don't even have a... Why did we put a port service unit there? I guess naval support and aviation at this island. It's kind of at the hinge of the Pearl Harbor Islands to the south and the Samoa group over there to the west. So it's not a terrible idea, I suppose. Unloading some stuff at Christmas Island. Hope most of these guys are docked to avoid submarine damage. If we saw an enemy. We've got 4 tankers there at port. I've also got 5 fleet oilers there too. But, yeah. Carriers, meanwhile, where are they? They're moving south somewhere. They're headed toward New Zealand in a really roundabout way. Has anything spotted them? No detection there. They're continuing to move. East of any patrol aircraft, so they're safe there. We've got some mine layers moving around. Probably should put some mines at Christmas Island. Do we have anything doing that? Mine lane. Let's okay. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and lay some mines at Christmas Island in the event that he sends subs that away. And we've got other stuff repairing at Pearl. We've got a bunch of convoys moving around. This might be a relatively quiet turn on my orders as well. I think we finally might have had some units show up here. No, we still haven't had the units show up at San Diego yet. They're still transiting from the East Coast. Did the battleships at Seattle finish the repairs? They did. So the Colorado and the Warspite are both ready for sea in all respects. We're going to send them to Pearl Harbor so that we have, I think we'll have 3 battleships ready for sea at Pearl Harbor. We're going to give them 2 destroyer escorts. And let's give them these AVDs too. At least bring the AVDs out to Pearl. All right, so task force is going to move from Seattle. The Warspite makes 24 knots. That's nice. The Colorado only makes 21. But we're going to move them out to Pearl Harbor, and we're just going to kind of return to Pearl. So then we'll have 2 fresh battleships, both ready and upgraded. The Colorado just upgraded, so it now has air search and surface search radar, so that's a big upgrade for it. I think the Warspite also has that. So we've got good fire. We should have good, yeah, it does. Good fire control, good weapons. The Warspite specifically is a good crew. The Colorado is not as good. Wow, not nearly as good. 39 night skills, eeks. But the British are good, so we've got that going for us. This guy's over here, so we've got these 2nd Canadian Scots. We should probably merge them to the same headquarters as the guys we moved to Seattle, I think it was. So who do we move to Seattle? What were the Canadians here? We moved them to the Southwest Pacific, so we should use some points here to change the 2nd Canadians to the Southwest Pacific as well, so we can merge them into a Canadian brigade of troops. I think it's the 15th Canadian Brigade. Where's the Southwest Pacific headquarters unit? That's Southeast Asia, Southwest Pacific. Okay. So we can assign these guys to the Southwest Pacific. I didn't even see how many political points I burned. Did we burn 122? I sure hope not. That's a lot. Still have 233. But in any event, we've already moved the other guys, so we do need to move these guys. What? Why can't you dock? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. The ship is too big? I guess we'll see if we can load these guys up. It might take us a while, because the port facilities are pretty bad there. Looks like we don't even have... We've got a level 1 port, and this ship is how many tons? 6,200 tons. We should be able to dock there. Isn't 1 8,000? Oh, it's 6,000. Eek. All right, so it's just barely too big. We'll move another ship around if we have to, but then we'll have a Canadian brigade with a free headquarter in Seattle. Other troops are already moving to San Diego from the East Coast, some other land troops that aren't quite ready. If we take a look at Cape Town, let's go ahead and load these guys with supplies. We're going to go ahead and send these guys to Rangoon. And I think we've got another task force here. We'll just disband. We've got 38 cargo ships at Cape Town. 6 tankers, too. Some of those must have just recently arrived. We only have 22,000 fuel there. We're pulling a ton of supply out of there, too. So we've also got 60,000, 73,000, about 80,000 fuel on the way from the Americas. And then we've got the battleship Prince of Wales still trying to make it back there. Still at 51 float damage. And it is 13 days away. What if we flank speed it? We can get it there in 7 days if we flank speed it. But I don't know if I want to risk more damage to the ship. It's already going to be out of action like a year. The difference in a week is really negligible. Meanwhile, the Repulse is down to 100 days repair time left. So we'll have her back in about 3 months, well before the upgrade date. So we'll be able to use her come around June time frame. Actually, around April time frame, we can use the Repulse, which is good because it's a fast battleship. It makes about 28 knots. That'll be very valuable for us. Did our air group make it? No, they're still over here. So we've got one carrier coming down from just arriving, along with a battleship coming into Colombo here in the next few turns. We've got some cargo ships here, just a AKL. We'll disband that. And then as we move into the Burma theater, we did identify there's one enemy unit here. Recon says it's about 5,000 troops. It's a Royal Thai division. To attack it, we do have to cross a river. So that is something I'm a little hesitant to do. Where is... These are all at Pegu. We've got the one unit at Meltica. So this guy is ready to rail to Pegu. We've already given the orders. So as soon as he arrives, we'll form that into the division there, the 1st Burma Division, and then we will move that 1st Burma Division against the Thai forces there. So we should be able to overwhelm them with a good division here of Burmese troops. First Burma Division. How strong is the First Burma Division? It looks like it's a lot of units here. It's 111, 220, probably just shy of 300 assault value. So it's a pretty decent division. We can move that. And Rangoon, I think we have some other units that were... No, I guess not. I must have already merged them. Thought we had some other units that we were going to form into a division somewhere around there. Not sure where, though. In any event. So that's the situation there. I think we're going to stand down our bombers. I don't want to bomb him again. We will set some... I don't want to, like, alarm him to the fact that that division might be somewhat exposed. So we'll set our Buffaloes here to 50% cap in the event that he does launch an air raid against Rangoon. We'll also set the Blenheim IFs to 50% cap. And then we won't do anything else out of Rangoon this turn. We'll let those guys rest. We're going to let the Singapore forces rest one more turn as well. We're assuming next time he flies against Singapore, it'll just be a fighter sweep and he won't jump into bombing raids. That could be a risky gamble, but that's my assumption. He didn't bomb last turn. The turn before, all he did was sweep. So if he was really going to follow up his sweep with a bombing raid, last turn would have been the one that would have made sense, and he didn't do that. So we'll allow those units to continue to rest up. Meanwhile, these guys will rest up as well. We've got troops on the way to Karachi with additional air units. We have some Hudsons that have recently arrived, but we also have some other vessels that are going to be arriving from the Mediterranean with like 3 or 4 squadrons of P-40s. Or not P-40s, Hurricanes. 3 task forces here going back to Abadan. These guys are loading up fuel, about 24,000 already loaded. Karachi's got a good amount of fuel, so India's good there. Meanwhile, in China, by the looks of it, there's way more than 500 troops here at Changsha, but by the looks of it, whatever troops he had in this hex here, just to the east of Changsha, either withdrew north here or into Changsha itself. My money is on Changsha itself, because there's just no way that they would have moved that quickly out of there. We didn't launch an attack. I didn't see an actual attack. So there's that. Meanwhile, this corps is moving west of Hainan in order to block any kind of flanking maneuver if he decides to cross the river there. These guys, why are they on strat move? They shouldn't be. Let's switch them over to combat. It's going to take 3 days to switch them over to combat. Also switch these guys to combat. It'll use a little bit more fuel or a little bit more supply, but I want to make sure he just can't cross the river and crush us. Meanwhile, these troops here, did they actually attack? I thought I ordered them to attack, but it doesn't look like they did. So we'll shock attack here. We'll see what they have. 1 unit at Puchang. That might be a risky gamble. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should just set them to defend. There's no real supply there, though. We do have sufficient supply with the troops, though, at the moment. Now, they moved in that direction. Can they just keep moving? Looks like they can. So we could order them to move. So I guess the question is, do we want to move the 1,087 troops that were in central China and did win that victory? Do we want to try moving them with no supply north to cut off Changsha? That seems like a bad idea to me. It probably would result in them just getting destroyed. Also, there's apparently 17 units to the east of Changsha. So I think what we'll do instead is move them into Changsha. I don't really want to do that. But if I move them into Changsha, then I can kind of pull them out. And either move them here to protect this rail line or cross the river to Saingatan and Hanyang to form a defensive line behind this river, and then we can actually fall back out of Changsha into these cities here across the river. Because the difference is Changsha is a good defensive bastion in the sense that it has level 4 forts and it's urban, so it's a very difficult place for him to attack without massive casualties. But the advantage of the cities here to the west is that they're behind a river, so if he crosses the river, he actually has to shock attack to cross the river. Which means even if they're slightly less in terms of defensive platforms, he can't just sit there and batter us down. He actually has to attack first and probably lose massive casualties first before he can really do anything else. So there's that. Move these guys here between the cities to protect our flank, make sure he doesn't split our forces there. Meanwhile, we did move 1 hex west here in northern China. We are falling back a little bit towards Sian from Luoyang, which means you probably can shift even more forces south. But I had no feasible way to counterattack there either. I believe if I move these troops into Changsha, then they'll be able to fall back west and they're not stuck because they're coming from a different direction. I don't think it has like facing. It has hex-side supply, but it doesn't have like facings in terms of like flank and rear and things like that. Actually, I think there's a way. Let's see here. There's a supply option here. Hex-side terrain detail. Where is it? Supply path from selected base. Yellow dots and PBM 5. Okay. So if we do this. Does it not show it to me? All right, so then I click on Changsha and the thing freezes up. So it shows, I don't know what these dots mean. This is hex-side supply, but I don't know what these dots mean. Changsha, okay. Yeah, I'm wondering if he does want to bombard all our troops to death. All right, so turn that off. I don't really know what I was looking at there. He might want to bombard all our troops to death, but at the end of the day, I don't want to be bombarded to death. So there's that, right? So we could just split our forces between 3 spots all across the river so that if he does cross, yes, he might overwhelm us in a place or two, but he's going to be going against fresh troops in supply, presumably in some level of defenses. Changsha is a nice bastion, but again, if it was behind the river, it would be borderline impregnable. Where it's at is not as ideal. The only bad thing is if we fall back from Changsha, then our only rail link to these 3 hexes of defensive positions is at Henyang, which complicates moving troops around based on where he makes his actual effort. And he could just move north of Sigatan, or Sayangatan, words, and attack an area that has no forts because there's no city and it has no favorable terrain. Yeah. So maybe that's a bad idea. I don't know. I don't have to decide today. I need to get these 1,000 assault value back toward Changsha first before it even matters. I think that's about it, guys. We looked at China. We looked at the U.S. The forces on the U.S. West Coast haven't arrived yet. We did the Dutch East Indies. We did Australia. I don't have anything else. My logistics are mostly in motion. I probably can move some merchant convoys around off stream, off map. But no need to bore you guys all just doing that. I think that's it. I think that's gonna do it for this turn. We can move these guys into Singapore here. There's 1 fighter that's ready to fly. So we'll do that. Combine there. Where's this guy's base? It's at Swingkang and Batavia. So we'll go ahead and transfer this guy to Batavia, where he can join back up with his unit. Okay. Guess he didn't do that. Huh. But yeah. Let me take a look at the chat here and catch up with you guys. But before I do that, I will do my little exit tro for the YouTube thing. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks again for tuning in to yet another episode of our War in the Pacific Let's Play series against XTRG. Until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.